Some time back, Abra na Nanado Dankwa Akufuado, a person or passing E11. There was a rumor, it suggested that some NDC MPP was for the passing of E11. Anna party no, and no more cottonasa, a casa E11 na eban, and more oh my god, into moon sorry, intia E11, send a bear, a bino into me and pass E11. And no, so. Emma Ayasa NDC MPs no SSA on my drain a fight the E-levy bill in Parliament, but yet still it was passed. And then could do Nkrumah I join the NDC Amanyo Kuro to fight on one kasa ne party. Efa bill bia on one present and answer ever debate bia koso Parliament efa the Kotoka International Airport name change. Yepese yesesano eko Accra International Airport. Kwesi Pratt Jr. to be ama Mahama Ayarega ene Afenyo Afenyo market. Kwesi Pratt HSA Afenyo market ni nephew name we dey over criticizing constructively. Debates via hold the Parliament and Kwesi Pratt are describing as nonsensical na onche. Now, on criticizing a binary constructive, any affairs to holding a constructive debate in the floor of Parliament, especially concerning the Kotoka International Airport name changer, as in Parliament last week. Kwesi Pratt Jr. Etwa Nonṣenṣe Oma a brief history of General Kotoka. The history is quite shocking. A kwanya of Faso. It too Kwame Nkrumah, the masterminds are Omobuano, Emma Kuno, etimi successful. And some when Semahobina Kwesi Pratt Jr. Editorial Abra will break his silence on Kotoka International Airport name change, a higher citizen voice. Subscribe to the channel, bell notification, na share ma afofro and sa and kabi. Comment section ho now they adventure Abba. Yenti Kwesi Pratt Jr.
What do you see?
Well, I mean, there's so little time that it's impossible to do a comprehensive analysis of this matter. So I'll start by stating that I am 500% in favor of changing the name from Kotoka International Airport to Accra International Airport. 500% in favor of that decision. What I reject is the ethnic analysis, is the base, childish, stupid ethnic analysis which has found its way into this debate. So those who use ethnic analysis to justify the change have a problem. And those who use ethnic analysis to attack the change also have a problem. We are building one Ghana. That was the national goal from independence to today. We are building one Ghana. Every Ghanaian national is entitled to the resources in Accra and the resources in Paga equally. The people of Paga are not entitled to the resources of Paga exclusively. In much the same way that the people of Ashanti are not entitled to the resources of Ashanti exclusively. We are building one Ghana. That is the national objective. Look, it's important, as Solomon Owusu said, to recognize the NPP's own recent history. Yes, the NPP went to court and got a court decision saying that all coup d'etats should not be celebrated. That's a decision which the NPP instigated, that all coup d'etats. It was not just the decision. The NPP went ahead and changed Sankara Circle to Obechebi Lamte Circle. So the NPP went ahead and took practical action to change the names of structures and places named after coup plotters and persons who executed coups. That is why today we have Akwaje Park instead of Sankara, Akwaje Interchange instead of Sankara Interchange. So if the NPP is to be consistent, it cannot be opposed to this proposal from the Mahama administration. Consistency requires that it toes the line. Now, there is something else which is very significant, and my brother has also mentioned it, that Nkrumah was not an angel. You know, the Preventive Detention Act was whatever. Fortunately, my brother, you are a lawyer. Show me one country, and I mean one country in the world, who does not have a Preventive Detention Act today. Show me one country in the world. If you look at our constitution today, under certain circumstances, citizens' rights are suspended. Go and read the provisions on the Declaration of, Declaration of War and so on. Under some circumstances, the Patriot Act in the United States of America, is it not a Preventive Detention Act? The Patriot Act. Britain has the same law. Germany has the same law. So to pretend that only the Nkrumah government instituted this law is dishonest. Because every government in the world has one form of Preventive Detention Act or the other. And Sora was right. It is under the Patriot Act. There are people who are arrested all over the world without charge and trial and dumped at the Guantanamo Bay in Cuba by the United States of America. So let's be fair to the facts. In any case, what was the substantial difference between the Preventive Detention Act and the Protective Custody Law? What was the difference? This was the law under which all CPP activists, including pregnant women, were arrested and detained without charge or trial. So please, let's be fair to the facts. Preventive Detention Act cannot be put on the neck of the Convention People's Party and the CPP alone. Every government has had a Preventive Detention Act one way or the other. You see, we will have enough time to discuss these matters. On Ghana's Day of Shame, the 24th of February, there will be a public forum on these matters. And that public forum will be transmitted live on Pan-African television. So those who have time, please listen. It will help. And those who can afford it, they should come to the headquarters of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, where these issues will be debated in detail by Ghanaians and non-Ghanaians together, people from the United States of America. So we'll all be there to discuss these matters in detail. But you see, the February 24th, 1966 coup was not an ordinary coup d'etat. It was not an ordinary coup d'etat. In fact, it's a very, very special coup d'etat. What went into it has not gone into any other coup d'etat in Ghana. Why? The evidence, and I'm talking about the evidence, is clear that this was a coup d'etat which was sponsored, planned, and executed by the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States of America. The evidence is in the declassified documents of the CIA. The evidence is in the testimony of Philip Agee, who was one of the most prominent agents of the CIA. The evidence it's in other testimonies, Philip Agee and John Stockwell and so on. They've all written extensively about this. So let's get out of our illiteracy and read. The evidence is in a book titled The Great Deception, How Nkrumah Was Overthrown, which is the publication of the declassified documents of the CIA with comments. It's available at the Freedom Bookshop. You can get it right now. You understand? The evidence is in a book authored by J.D. Mahoney, the son of the U.S. ambassador at the time, using his father's documents and so on. He's provided the evidence to show that that coup was planned, instigated, supported, sponsored by the Central Intelligence Agency of the USA. So the evidence points to the fact that the 1966 coup was a direct foreign attack on national sovereignty. So those who are praising Kotoka for organizing the coup, they don't know the history. Kotoka was a small tool in the hands of the CIA for organizing the coup. And indeed, the historical evidence again is on YouTube. I interviewed Mr. A.K. Deku, who was one of the conspirators, Commissioner of Police, CID, and then Nkrumah, who became a Commissioner of the National Liberation Council. I interviewed him a few weeks before he died. A.K. Deku was chairman of the Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party. And I interviewed him for a program on TV3 called Hot Issues. The whole program as we speak is on YouTube. Go there and listen to A.K. Deku. I asked A.K. Deku to evaluate Nkrumah. A.K. Deku said that Nkrumah is the best president that Africa has produced. Not Ghana, Africa has produced. I asked him, why then did you join the conspiracy to overthrow him? He said to protect his life. And that if he had opted out of the conspiracy, he would have been killed. So he went along, knowing that what he was doing was wrong. Okay? Put that aside. The key conspirator was not Kotoka. It was not Afrifa. The key conspirator for the 1966 coup was a Major Kwesi, who was resident at the 37 military hospital. It was in his house that the coup was plotted. But somehow the CIA decided not to play him out. So his name doesn't appear anywhere. The key conspirator was a Major Kwesi. The coup was plotted in his house at the 37 military hospital. You understand? So we have to understand these things. Now, I pity my nephew, Afenyo Makin. He's my nephew. You know, I really pity him. I mean, he's increasingly becoming pedestrian in his analysis. And I pity him. I actually feel sad for him. This, his drive into ethnicity. Where is the basis? That if you touch Kotoka, you have touched Evers. It's unbelievably childish. Now, let me explain something to you. The Convention People's Party, one of its strongholds was the Volta region. Okay? When the coup occurred, what Kotoka and his henchmen did to Voltarians is unbelievable. Reverend Goka, he was a minister in the Nkrumah government. He's one of those who was bundled and thrown into prison. Are you saying that Reverend Goka was not an Ewe or from the Volta region? He suffered at the hands of Kotoka. Not just that. One of the most prominent advocates of the CPP in the Volta region was in Qatar. His name was called Fiawo. His son became one of the big journalists in this country, working for the Ghanaian Times and so on. Let them tell you their story about how they were treated after the 1966 coup, and come and tell me that Voltarians will go and struggle because Kotoka's name is being removed. Why? One of the consequences of the 1966 coup was the removal of people from the Volta region and Evers from high offices throughout the country, leading to the filing of the case which became known as Apollo 568. The leader, the person who mobilized and filed the case, was called Salah. He was from the Volta region. So stop this nonsense. Do you know people in the Volta region who suffered? Check. The facts are there. The history is there. People in the Volta region suffered. They really were punished for supporting Nkrumah. So, to think that people of the Volta region will rise because Kotoka's name is being removed, we are dreaming, you are joking, you are ignorant. You don't know the history. As if you know the history, you would not put forward this baseless, childish argument. You understand? Now, there's so much to say, but we can't say it all.
Thank you.
But listen, my brother, and listen very carefully. I am all for naming the airport Accra International Airport. Because we are reverting to the status quo ante. Later controversy, no problem. If you come and argue that it should be named Nkrumah Airport, becomes a problem. Everybody is talking, you know, making unfounded statements and allegations and so on. Accra International Airport, finished. And the reason why it should be named Accra International Airport is not because the airport is in Accra. Because if you accept the argument that you should name it Accra International Airport because the airport is in Accra, by extension of logic, it will lead to total chaos. Okay? It will mean, for example, that the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Kumasi should be renamed Kumasi University. By logical extension. And would that make sense? We are trying to build one Ghana. One Ghana is what we are trying to build. And we should stop this tribalism, this ethnicity, foolish ethnicity and so on, and focus attention on how to build this country and to take it forward. Take the next steps forward and so on. Stop this. I am completely disgusted. These people, some of these people, and then it's important for us also to note that the NPP is not united on this matter.
Yes, it's true.
So if we have to condemn, let's condemn the backward people in the NPP who are coming up with ethnic analysis and so on.
Yeah, man.
You cannot rope them with people like Oppong who supports this change. Oppong says the change is fine. So Oppong and Afenyo are different. They have different positions on this matter. So don't rope the whole of the NPP into this and condemn the NPP. Let's fish out the individuals who are backward, who don't understand our history and deal with them. You understand? Yeah. That's my position. Okay. You see, there's so much to say. I mean, so much to say. So much to say. You travel around the world. Travel around the world. There's nowhere in the world that I have been that there's no monument honoring Nkrumah. You go to Guinea. I mean, perhaps Guinea has the biggest statue of Nkrumah anywhere in the world. You go to Mali. Look, I went to Kenya 30 years ago. The major street in Kenya is named after Nkrumah. You go to South Africa, where? You go to Cuba. Nkrumah's statue has been erected in Havana. What's wrong with us?
You come to Ghana,
what is wrong with us?
Thank you.